Jess here, and welcome to my channel. As you can see by my setup, it's time to play Phase 10 Chooses, my TBR. So I can't believe it is time to play along again. Before we dive into the game, there's a few things I want to get out of the way. First is that I'm participating in 3 readathons in the month of October. The first is TBR Harvest, which is hosted by Leandra the Zero. I will be trying to escape the core maze. I will link my TBR video for that in the cards above if you want to see how to play along and what books I ended up choosing. The second month-long readathon I will be doing is Spookopoly-thon, which is hosted by Becca in the books. I will link my TBR video for that also in the cards above as I rolled and played along with Becca's game. And then the last month-long readathon I'm doing is called Fabelin, and it is hosted by the Word Nerd. And Margaret has taken, I believe this was her TBR game, and kind of tweaked it so that we could all play along, and it's sort of D&D style. I chose the Shadow Aegis as my team, which means I get extra points if my cover is more than 40% white. I don't know how often I'm going to be able to do that, but I'm going to give it a go. There's another way you can earn points, and that's if they match your character traits. I have decided that I'm going to be a halfling, so I will get extra points for reading Kidlit, which based on Margaret's description would be like anything that is YA and below. I decided to be a healer, and there's a list of words that would get me extra points. I don't know that any of the categories of words really fit what I was reading, so I went with the one that sounded like it would be fun to be as my character. And then the last is we get some sort of item, and I have a staff, and I will get extra points for reading library books. There will be prompt drops throughout the months that we have to fill, so we don't really know what the prompts are, so I can't give you a TBR for that. But I'm very excited to take part, and hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. This will be another month where I'm going into a readathon not knowing what my prompts are going to be. So fingers crossed I managed to pick books that end up working with those future prompts. And because it wouldn't be a video without Cielo, here she is. All of the information for those will be linked in the description below if you'd like to get more information on how to participate. I am still doing Buzzwordathon. This is going to be interesting trying to do it with a Cielo to help. This month, the category is, I believe, relationships in the title. And I'm going to be reading the sister split. I don't know much about this, but it says soon-to-be sisters means there's soon-to-be trouble. So I think these two girls are finding out that their parents are getting married and they're not happy about that. And they're going to see if they can try to stop the wedding and probably learn that maybe the wedding isn't the worst thing in the world. I am very excited to get to this and hopefully I will enjoy it. And then the other thing I should mention is that I will be doing my queer book club in October. I will link the video where I go over the winner in the cards above, but we will be reading Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. This is a cozy mystery fantasy. It sounds quite interesting, and I'm looking forward to reading it. My Discord will be linked in the description below. That is where we will be chatting about it, so hop in there and chat along with us and read along if it's a book you would like to get to in the month of October. I hope you join us. Cielo is going to be so helpful, guys. She's going to be so helpful. Okay, on to my next thing. My nonfiction for the month is going to be The Ship Beneath the Ice, and this is a nonfiction that is going to follow the ship Endurance, which got trapped in the ice, and then I believe we're going to see, like in the past, stories about that, what we know about that, maybe, and then we're going to see teams trying to discover, and the actual discovery of the ship, like, I believe it's like 100 years to the day later. This just sounded really, really interesting, and I'm hoping it is very intriguing, and I want to learn more about this ship because I don't think I've ever heard of it before. So I'm hoping I learned something reading this one, and that it is written in a way that draws me in. Cielo, could you please chill long enough for me to do my TBR jar pulls? Do you think you could do that, Cielo? We're going to see if she's going to do that, because I need to pull these, and it's going to be really hard to do with a cat in my lap. So here is my TBR jar of doom. I'm terrified of this thing, and papers are going to go everywhere because I keep adding them and pulling them, and, you know, it is what it is. I've got 2. Okay, we're going to go with the orange one because it stuck to me, and it says, you're reading me this month, apparently. Okay, my first series. Is The Faithful and the Fallen. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, I'm not reading this in the month of October. I have to read a Robert Jordan book in the month of October, and there's another reason. I am not going to be reading this right now, and I don't know that that reason is public, but I don't think so. So we're just going to hold off on this. And y'all are going to pretend you didn't see me pull that, okay? You didn't see me pull that. We're going to pull this red one. Because you didn't see me pull that. Okay. The Southern Homebrew Mystery. Let me see if I have a book in that or if I'm caught up. So I'm caught up in that series. Let's try this again because apparently I'm going to be pulling out all of the pieces of paper. Cielo, please don't knock my camera on the floor. She is on the table with the camera, so if it's a little shaky, you know why. Kingdoms and Empires. Let me see what the next book is in this one and if I have access to it. So, I've requested the 4th book from my library. It's called The Astonishing Chronicles of Oscar from Elsewhere. The first book is The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte and Meadowstone. Okay, now I remember this series. So the first book, we follow Bronte, whose parents are killed by pirates when she's 10. And she didn't really know her parents because they were always off on adventures, so she's been raised by her aunt, Isabel. However, when they die, she gets specific instructions she needs to follow in her will and ends up traveling the kingdom to deliver gifts to her many numerous aunts, and we follow her on her journeys. So I've obviously read books 2 and 3. Can't really talk about book 4 because I'm sure there's spoilers for book 1, if not 2 and 3, but I remember really enjoying the series and I'm excited to dive back in. So my second series is Legend by Mary Lou, which I've DNF'd. Well, we're clearing out some room in this jar. So, let's see what this one is. Ooh. A Fairy Garden Mystery. If I have access to the next book, I can do this one. So the 5th book in this series is called A Twinkle of Trouble, and this follows Courtney, who has the ability to see fairies and runs a, fairy garden shop type thing. And it looks like in this one, a friend is going to be murdered. And it looks like Courtney is going to be looking at some of her friends due to incidences between the dead friend and other friends of hers. So we're going to have to see if she can find the killer and if it ends up being somebody that she's friends with. So this is another one I can read. It's a cozy mystery with a fantastical vibe. It's not my favorite cozy mystery series, but I do enjoy it. And I want to read more like cozy mystery fantasies. So this is absolutely perfect. And now on to series number 3, which insisted it was being read. The Mysterious Benedict Society. I started this in August, I believe. And I see no reason I shouldn't be able to continue on. Like I said, this one I can do. The second book is The Mysterious Benedict Society and the Perilous Journey. This series follows a group of kids who are a little bit different. And they end up going on a quest to kind of save the world. And each of them has a reason for being there. And they don't know each other prior to the start of the book, so it is interesting in the first book seeing them get to know each other and try to figure out in what ways they kind of impact this team that has been put together. So I don't know what the second book's going to be about, but I suppose I will find out when I read it. So I've obviously kept out the series I DNF'd. I kept out the Fairy Garden Mystery because I will be caught up. I kept out the Southern Homebrew Mystery since I am caught up. And for the moment, I've kept out the Bronte Meadowstone series because I don't know if I can get book 5, but I'm going to look into that before I put it back in. So we're going to stick this on here and close her up, and I get to put her away for the month. That wasn't a bad round. And I've cleared out a few pieces of paper with series that I'm caught up on, will be caught up on, or have DNF'd, which means it is time for this. So it is the 26th. The only book I have left to read is Ship of Destiny, and I'm like 100 pages into it, so I see no reason why I won't finish that. So we're going to pick one of these, and we'll go with this one. I have shuffled them. I have no idea what it is, but I get a reward. And these are also shuffled. And I will go with this one. So we're going to replace Blue 11 right here with a reward. We'll mix the Blue 11 back in the deck, because there is the possibility that it does come up. And now, as you can see, I don't have any cards on my board, and that's because last time I filmed my TBR, I had finished my phase. So the next phase, I believe, is phase 8, because I just finished 2 sets of 4, which means I just need 7 cards of one color. And the way, I believe I've done this in the past, and if not, I'm doing it this way this time, is I'm going to deal out the 10 cards that I get as soon as I finish shuffling. And then I'm going to show you the very, very, very first card. Whatever that first card is the color I'm going to go for regardless. So let's say it is a red card and the rest of my hand is green. I don't get to complete my phase until I get 7 reds. Just to make it a little harder for me, because I find that that's usually the easiest phase to kind of complete. And if it's a wild, I get to choose. But I still have to choose before I can see. So we have my cards. And I've counted out 10 of them. So the color I'm going to be going off of, because the first card I pulled would have been the first card because I was counting and dealing. We're going with blue. So I need to get 7 cards that are blue. I'll be back with you as soon as I've got the board set up. So as you can see, the board is set up. I have 4 blue cards, which really it was either going to be blue or yellow. So like if I had had a choice. So hopefully this works out well. I should mix the prompt I took down. Man, I can't speak today. I should mix the prompt I took down back in the deck. Not that I know what it is, so I have no idea whether it's one I would have wanted to come up or not, because it could have been something simple like middle grade, or it could have been something really, really hard like word related to gold. So I believe with that out of the way, we can dive into the game. Draw number 1. Well, we have a trick to start off the game with a wild. I'll get to that. So let's try that again. Draw number 1, part 2, is a blue 3. We'll take it. And since there's literally no rhyme or reason, we're going to go with a yellow 2 for no particular reason. The prompt for yellow 2, fantasy. So for fantasy, I'm going to read The Daggers of Ire by J.C. Cervantes. It says, Esmeralda Santos is a rare bruja born with chaos magic in her veins. She and her family are direct descendants of one of the 4 original witches. A mysterious legend about the night magic was born in San Bosco. But since the death of her mother, Esme is more concerned about healing her father's spiraling grief. When Esme finds a heart spell in a forbidden grimoire, she thinks it could be the answer to making her dad whole again. But before she can try, she and her best friend Tiago discover that their families and all the town's witches have vanished along with their magic, which keeps San Bosco alive. The only way to save them and the town is to find an original witch, impossible since no one has actually ever seen one. With a witch hunter on their tail, Esme and Tiago journey to a banished realm where forbidden magic runs wild. Here, the two must embrace their powers and confront the legend's terrible truths, or risk losing their families and their magic forever. So this one sounded interesting, and like it was going to have those witchy vibes I was kind of looking for the spooky season. I am hoping, I love this, it sounds like it's going to be a fun little quest that we go on with Esme and Tiago, and I'm hoping that I love it. We'll replace that with this. Draw number 2. It's a green 7. It does not help me any. The prompt for green 7. Hardcover. For this, I'm going to go with The Phantom Tower by Kier Graff. I don't know much about this, but I believe it was a spooky middle grade. I mean, it says once you move in, you can never move out. So it definitely sounds like it's going to have some spooky vibes, which is what I was looking for. And I have had my eye on this for spooky season for a while now. So I think since it is a hardcover, I'm going to stick it on my TBR for this so that I know I will be getting to it finally in the month of October. We'll replace that with this and go with draw number 3, which is a green 6. The prompt for green 6 is gifted. So the only book I have that is gifted that I haven't already read is The Sword of Kaigen. And I got that from Oz. And given what my TBR looks like in October, I just do not feel confident that I would actually get to that. And it's also not fitting with my mood. I'm honestly in a bit of a fantasy slump. So that being said, pretty much every book I've been gifted is either part of a series I literally just caught up on, basically, or is a fantasy. And I'm going to go with the one that fits more of the vibes, and I'm going to reread Legends and Lattes. One of the prompts, I believe, for one of the boards for TBR Harvest, the Trick or Treat one, is a reread. So this would fit that prompt, and I was wondering if I was going to be able to squeeze a reread in anywhere. And I'm also in the mood for cozy fantasies. I haven't read Legends and Lattes in a while. Like, I think since I first read it, whenever that was. And I love this book, and I have absolutely no problem rereading it because I know I love it. So maybe this is exactly what I need to kind of get out of my fantasy slump, is to read a book I already know I love. And honestly, I love rereading some of my favorite books, so this is not a hardship. And Aaron was kindly enough to gift this to me. So I will be reading Legends and Lattes in October. So we'll replace that with this. We'll go for draw number 4, which is blue. And I'm feeling a red one. How about you all? We're going to go with a red one. The prompt for red 1 is old favorite author. So usually for this, I read Aaron Hunter. There's almost always an Aaron Hunter book I need to get to, but honestly, I think I'm in a good place with where I'm at with the series right now. And I don't know that I have an obvious book to read there. Maybe. But then I was thinking, like, who else do I like? Who else did I get a book from today in the mail that I could consider an old favorite author? And I went, oh, what if I read Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Wrath of the Triple Goddess? Because Rick Riordan is an old favorite author, and I literally just got this today in the mail, and I was like, how do I get this book on my TBR? It's not on my TBR yet, but I wanted it on my TBR. So I'm going to use this for old favorite author. This is apparently called the Senior Year Adventures Book 2. So this is a new addition to the Rick Riordan Percy Jackson universe, and it's back with Percy and Co. And I am so excited. Look at those edges. Like, how cool. And then we have these gorgeous end papers. Let me see if the back ones are different. Yes, the back ones are different. And I'm so incredibly excited to dive back into this series. I love Percy Jackson. It's one of my favorite series as like a whole, if you include Heroes of Olympus and The Sun and the Star, which is the one with Nico, and the Trials of Apollo. Just the whole series as a whole, like the whole universe, is one of my favorite series ever. I adore Rick Riordan's writing, and I am so incredibly excited I have found a way to stick this on my TBR. And that was the perfect prompt at the perfect time. And like I said, usually use Aaron Hunter for this, but it's nice to change it up once in a while. So we'll replace that with this, and we'll go for draw number 5, which is a red 3. Let's see if this red card is as kind to me. The prompt for red 3 is buddy read. This was indeed kind to me. What I'm going to read for this one is Record of a Spaceborne Few. I am reading this with Omi. We read the first book together for my queer book club pick, which was A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, back in June. And then in August, we read the second book, and now we're planning on reading the third book together in October. I absolutely love this series. It is a cozy sci-fi series, and I'm just so excited to dive back in to have those cozy vibes, but in a sci-fi way. And this was the perfect time to pull this prompt because me and Omi have already set that up. So let's replace that with this. We'll go for draw number 6, which is a green 11. A green 11, guys. Like, a green 11. So close. TBR game. So, I don't know if you know this, but Spookopoly-thon is based on Spookopoly. So, technically, I have already played a TBR game. And I'm going to count this to give myself a little bit of leeway in the month of October and count that as my TBR game because Bookopoly has played by a ton of people as a TBR game. So I'm going to put on one of the books that I have on my Spookopoly-thon TBR, and that is going to be Source Line Book 2. If you want to know what prompt I put this on there for, you'll have to watch that video to find out. But this is the second book in a middle grade, I believe, graphic novel series. I read the first book last spooky season, so I'm very, very excited to dive into the second book this spooky season. We'll replace that with this. Draw number 7 is a green 5. And the prompt for green 5, LGBTQ plus rep. For this, I'm going to put on Can't Spell Treason Without T. Since it is my queer book club pick, there is queer rep in here. And like I said, I'm very, very excited to get to this. It is a cozy mystery fantasy. And I have heard some really good things about it, so very, very excited to be able to get my Queer Book Club pick on my TBR. This is being suspiciously nice to me, y'all. We'll replace that with this. And we'll get into draw number 8, which is a red 1. This prompt didn't stay on the board for long, did it? The prompt for red 1. Dark cover. For this, I'm going to choose Babel, because that is definitely a dark cover. This is a book I've heard a lot of mixed things about. It is a book that extremely intimidates me, and I might actually need a push to pick up, because I've heard some people who absolutely adore it, and some people who absolutely despise it. So it is one of those that I've had opportunities to put it on my TBR before and went, no thanks. So I think this is the month where I give myself a little bit of an extra push, and finally put Babel on my TBR. We'll replace that with this. We're just going to scooch this out of the way because I realize it is kind of in the way. And we'll go to draw number 9, which is a red 8. Again, so close, yet so far away. The prompt for red 8, Cozy Mystery. So for this, I'm going to read A Twinkle of Trouble. I might as well use one of my series that came out of my jar for this, since it is a cozy mystery fantasy. Absolutely perfect. Again, this is being nice to me. I'm a little bit nervous. Let's replace that with this. And go to the last of our regular draws, draw number 10, which is a blue. Let's go with a green. We'll go with a green too, to replace for the blue 9. And there's my phase. Now I just need to get rid of my 3 discards. So, and I can, again, only do that with blue cards. So, green 2 is to read a sequel. For this, I'm going to read The Glitter End by Vivian Conroy. This is the third and I think most recent book in the Stationery Shop Mysteries. This follows Delta, who owns a stationery shop and is actually moving to Tundish, Montana, in the first book to run this stationery shop with one of her really good friends, and that friend ends up embroiled in a murder whose main suspect is the friend's brother, and so she starts to investigate. I thought the first 2 books were decent. The third book was on my physical TBR, so that was why I had read the first 2 books. So let's get this off of my physical TBR. I don't think it's a series I'm going to keep, but I can at least read it and get that physical TBR number down. And we will replace that with this, which brings me to my favorite time, rolling for my wild. So I have my die. Please be kind. And it was. We got a 1. So unless this is a wild, I am done. Wild 1, draw 1, is a green 4. The prompt for green 4 was not nice to me. It is over 500 pages. I don't like it. I really, really don't like it. But I'm pretty sure the only other book I have left on my TBR, Babel might be over 500 pages, but the only other one I have left that I was planning on getting to this month, and since I don't want to put another book on here, is the next Robert Jordan book. It's book 12. I don't know the name of it. There'll be a picture on the screen. I'm sure it's over 500 pages. If not, Editing Chris will let you know. I'm waiting for my copy from the library, so I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's over 500 pages. Like I said, this is book 12. I'm reading it as part of the Wheel of Time Along. I am ready to be done with the series, and I'm invested in enough in the characters I do like to finish it out, even though I'm ready to be done with this series. So that is the last book that is going to be going on my Phase 10 TBR. So the last thing to do is replace that with this. And there you have it. That is my October Phase 10 TBR. It could have been a lot worse. I mean, it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse. I finished my phase. I just need to find 3 more blue cards. Maybe next month. I'm excited for most of these books. I'm a little terrified by having Robert Jordan and Babel on my Phase 10 TBR. Not gonna lie. Fingers crossed I can get to both of those in the month of October and actually get through them, because I don't really want to have to take a punishment because I decided to read Babel and a Wheel of Time book in the same month. This is going to be quite the interesting month with all of the readathons. Like I said, I also have to try to fill in whatever prompts drop for Fablone. So once again, fingers crossed that somehow manages to work out for me. Hopefully, it'll be as kind to me as most of these prompts are. That, however, is going to be all for this month's round of Phase 10 Chooses My TBR. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me ship emojis in honor of my nonfiction choice for the month. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!